Hi, good day everyone. Assalamualaikum. My name is HAMZAH bin GHAFAR, and I was a former PhD student at INSPAM. I recently graduated from my PhD study in January 2020. So I would like to thank INSPAM for awarding me to this Anugerah, Excellence in Scholarly Publication and Excellence in Scholarly Participation event for the year 2019. So I would like to thank my supervisor, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Reza Kamil Arifin, and my co-supervisors, Dr. Muhammad Ashraf and Dr. Muhammad Aidil, so for helping me throughout my PhD study. I thank you all, and also my colleague at Lab Al-Kindi. So I really love you all, and I really hope that we can meet each other again after this PKP. So for today's event, I have made a video that share the experience during my PhD study. So I hope you can enjoy this video, and thank you again. The title of the talk today is Mathematical Cryptanalysis, RSA Cryptosystem, a PhD journey. In this talk, I will discuss my experience in doing mathematical cryptanalysis of a crypto system called RSA during my PhD study. I hope by sharing this experience, I can encourage most of the postgraduate students in the audience here to not give up and always be an optimist in your research. To be an optimist in your research, first you must have a passion for your research. In my case, I have a passion for this subject called cryptography. So what is a cryptography? It is a study of techniques and practices to secure communication between two entities and more, from being known by any unwanted party. The concept and technicalities of cryptography have been experienced and practiced by human civilization since the age of Julius Caesar up until our modern times. In modern time, cryptography started to utilize mathematical techniques to achieve the holy grails or the security goals of cryptography, which are confidentiality, authenticity, data integrity, and non-repudiation of the communicated data. The first goal, confidentiality. It can be related to encryption and decryption techniques that have been proven useful during the war to hide war strategy from the enemy. While the rest of the goals also can be related to a new concept called the digital signing scheme. This is the beginning of a new branch of cryptography called public key cryptography. And one of the earliest public key crypto system is called RSA and was introduced in 1978 by researchers at MIT. Today, the RSA cryptosystem is the most popular encryption and digital signing scheme used in our communication via the internet. And this is one of the many applications that use RSA. If we go to any HTTPS website and click on the padded lock on its address bar, for example here on the Amazon website, you can see there is a digital certificate embedded with the assurance of your connection is secure. And if you click on this certificate, you can see right next to the field of the public key, there are values of the key, and in this certificate, it is an RSA cryptosystem of 2048 bits. Below it, you can see the value of the public key in hexadecimal values. So we have a public key, but what exactly is a public key? And by knowing the existence of a public key, there must be also an existing private key. Since we know to secure anything, we must be able to lock and unlock it by using one or more keys. So let's look at the RSA crypto system as a whole. As you can see, this is the key generation algorithm. And the question 1 is what we call as RSA key equation. And these are the encryption and decryption algorithms. These three algorithms collectively are the RSA crypto system. And in the key generation algorithm, you can see here that we define two values, N and E, as the public key. while for values P, Q, phi n, and D as the private keys. From its names, the public key are the values of RSA that can be obtained publicly, like in the Amazon certificate just now. So, while the private keys should be kept secret by its owner all the time. So this is the fundamental knowledge about the RSA Cryptosystem. So without abandoning the workings of encryption and decryption algorithms, in my research, I focus on this key generation algorithm since it is the primary source of security for RSA. And this is the source of security for RSA. And it is called the integer factorization problem. So what is the integer factorization problem, or IFP? Given RSA modulus n equals to PQ, where P and Q are randomly generated same size prime, integer factorization problem, or IFP, is to find P or Q. Okay, to find P or Q. You can be forgiven if you dismiss this problem as a very simple problem. But believe me, hundreds, if not thousands, of brightest minds of the world have scratched and banged their heads in solving this problem. For n is a very large integer. And in RSA case, it is more than 300 digits integer. So imagine that how large an integer to be solved in RSA Cryptosystem. So up until today, an algorithm called the quadratic C factorization is the best known method to solve integer factorization. However, its exponential running time is still insufficient to factor RSA modulus and in a required time. In other words, our current technology and computing, computing power still cannot satisfyingly solve this problem. So, could I solve this problem? Hence comes the first lesson to the future and current PhD students out there. Be realistic about your expectations. Since the brightest mind also have difficulty solving this problem, I, a mere PhD student, must face an Everest-sized challenge to solve it. And I'm talking about this true experience. During the early parts of my study, I think I wasted 2 to 3 months of research work by having a dream to solve this so near yet so far problem. Imagine if I do not stop after the 3 months, after the 3rd month, imagine. So please be realistic and consider your expectations thoughtfully by discussing it with your supervisor and co-supervisors. In my case, I try to reduce the problem to a solvable problem with a given conditions. And in having this realistic expectation, I managed to find 6 vulnerabilities in RSA by imposing specific conditions on the primes used in the key generation algorithm. As a result, I concluded that if any RSA modulus is composed of these weak primes, the modulus can be factored in polynomial time. However, let's rewind a little bit. Okay, how I ended up with the first result of my study. It all starts here in a Wikipedia article. During the early years of my study, I enjoyed browsing around Wikipedia pages on the list of theorems posted on the website. So I'm amazing myself. During one of these intervals, I stumbled upon this theorem called Friedlander-Iwanic theorem. This theorem states that there are infinitely many prime numbers of the form a squared plus b to the power 4. It also stated that in a particular case where b equals to 1, this set is also infinite. So I found this fascinating. Since RSA uses primes in the integer factorization problem, and it may utilize the prime of this form. So I start to play around by imagining n in RSA to take up this form. And from many simulations in Maple software, we observe that the n composed of this prime may be computed to produce phi n, which is a private key in RSA. So we can factor n easily actually from this knowing the value of phi n. So we have reduced and solved this problem of IFP in polynomial time by imposing our conditions. And next, we formulated this finding mathematically and present it in its general form. So this is the first result. Okay, and the paper that came out of this finding has been presented at a conference and published in the proceeding, in the scope of proceeding. Now comes the second lesson. Okay, always find the motivation for the research. The motivation acts as the spark plug to kickstart your research. It may come in the form of results from other published papers or popular science articles, or maybe an observation of a phenomenon in your daily life. And in my case, it came from a Wikipedia article. So, followed by this result, I came upon the next result by generalizing my first result. This is the conditions imposed upon the RSA prime in the first result. And this is the condition imposed upon the RSA prime in the second result. As you can see, I only changed the construction of the prime a little bit by making them in a more general fashion and imposing additional conditions. However, since mathematics is a very sensitive subject, this little change provides me with a new perspective to look at this new result. Okay, so again, by formulating this new perspective mathematically, we come upon this theorem. It has been published here in MJMS. And so from that experience, this is the next lesson. Try to generalize your result as much as you can. By expanding your work this way, you may stumble upon a new understanding of your research. And in my case, I can see that this method can be applied to an application of established attacks against RSA, which brings us to my third result, which is this. Okay, so you can see here the sanctioned attack is actually an application or established attack against RSA. So we use this method to take our second result into an application. Again, we'll formulate the result mathematically, and it will be slightly different from the second result. But yeah, it still can be published, and it's still accepted as a new result, since it is doesn't apply. It never been applied to this kind of application before. And from that, we can have the next lesson. So, if applicable, apply your result on an application. You may never know how your result can benefit the current application, and to do that, you should take the fifth lesson. Before you apply your application, you must know the application of your research. So, by having these 5 takeaways from my experience, I shall not bore you with the remaining 3 of my results. However, I would like to add the final and maybe the most important lesson that I have recovered throughout my study. It is be supported and supportive. I will not achieve what I have got here without the support and guidance from my surroundings. My supervisor, my co-supervisors, colleagues are very important in my PhD journey. They are my sources, my inspiration. They are my sources of inspiration, information, and ideas. By talking and discussing with them, I managed to present my results more clearly. And the help from the supporting staff at INSPAM also reduces my attention from the trivial but very important administration issues. On the other hand, parents, family, spouse, children, if you have any, and friends becomes the general motivation to push forward along this road of research. So you must ensure all of this supporting system, from the supervisors to friends, must always be interconnected around you, must arrive you safely in your research work. Now, these are all important lessons that I've learned from my PhD journey. I hope you can experience them gracefully. Remember, our journey in research may be a lonely journey, but our life isn't. With that, I end my talk today. I wish you all very well in your future study and research. And